everyone, this is Kristen from the CODEX station, and I've got something a little different for you today. Today, I'm going to be giving you some comic book trivia that is actually pretty cool if you don't know it. So, we are going to talk about the origin of something that is super, super iconic to comic book history, the Joker's smile. Now, a lot of writers and a lot of originators of characters will argue how the Joker's origins began, but they all agree on how the Joker's smile became so infamous. So let's talk about how we did that. So I'm going to take you back to silent film era, whichever, silent film history. And we're going to talk about an actor named Conrad Veidt. Conrad Veidt was a German actor, one of the few actors from silent movies to go ahead and make the transition into what we call talkies. If you don't know a lot about silent movie trivia, basically what happened is a lot of the actors from there were people with very thick accents or speech impediments, but it didn't matter because they could still act without having to be heard. And a lot of them lost their jobs when movies turned into what we call talkies. Conrad Veidt was one of a few that didn't, so he does make that transition. Just want to let you know that's kind of cool. He was in Casablanca and a lot of other classic films if you want to look him up. But we're going to start with one of his most famous movies, 1920, considered the very first horror movie, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. What does this have to do with the Joker's smile? Not much. I just want to give you a little bit of history on Conrad. So, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is considered the very first horror movie in all of cinema history. It is also what is known as classic German expressionism. If you want to know what that is, it means like the sets are very angular. They play a lot with the near and the far and the perspective. You can actually see this in a lot of different music videos, such as Rob Zombie's Living Dead Girl or Red Hot Chili Peppers' The Other Side. They play along on that, and actually, Rob Zombie's Living Dead Girl is a tribute to the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Now, Conrad Veidt became pretty well known after this movie. He plays the part of Cesar, basically a sleepwalker who goes around at night sleepwalking and potentially attacking or murdering people. You don't know. I'm not going to give you the whole entire story. The movie is technically um, in the public domain now, so you should be able to find it on places like YouTube and Tubi. And even if you don't really like silent movies, it is a really, really cool watch. Not just for the German expressionism, but just the fact that it's the very first horror movie, and it's got a nice little twist there. So after The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, he became very well known as someone who took his characters and really dove into them, kind of like the way that we see like Jared Leto did with the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix also did with the Joker, or Daniel Day-Lewis does in almost all of his movies, where they get really, really into it. They try to embody the character. So we're going to go ahead and fast forward to 1928, and we are going to talk about a movie called The Man Who Laughs. Sound familiar yet? The Man Who Laughs is based off of Victor Hugo novel, and it basically follows the character Gwynplaine. Yes, I said it in the English way. I know it's supposed to be French. It can also be said in German. I will butcher that horribly, so I'm saying it the English way, Gwynplaine. Now, Gwynplaine is a character who was mm, deformed, is the word I'm going to use. As a kid, he had his smile carved on. And it was carved on his face by comprachicos. Now, comprachicos are a group from folklore who are said to be able to manipulate the bones and the muscles of still growing children and go ahead and deform their face and make it stay that way. Hence the frozen smile, kind of like this. It'll be somewhere in the background. Little creepy, I know, but does that look familiar or what? Now, the interesting thing about The Man Who Laughs is it's not a horror movie, despite what I just said. I just said mythical creatures went ahead and deformed his face and gave him a frozen smile. It's actually a romantic drama, a lot kind of paralleling The Hunchback of Notre Dame, the idea that even when you have these deformities, you can still find love, which he does. If you haven't seen this movie, it is also very good. Might technically be in the public domain, should be, should still be able to find it. And even though it is a romantic drama, a lot of people consider it slightly horror because of that frozen smile. But it's that frozen smile that gives him the moniker the laughing man. Now, when they were coming up with the characterization of the Joker, they wanted to give him something that really stood out. So they took that idea of the frozen smile, because it's creepy. You have these villain eyes and this guy with a frozen smile doing all these villain things. Man, we could really use that. And they did. That is the origin of the Joker's smile. It comes from the man who laughs and the characterization of Gwynplaine on the big screen in a 1928 silent film. And of course, this is honored in The Batman Who Laughs. So, just a little bit of comic trivia there for you. Everything sort of has a beginning. Even if you can't decide where the Joker's origins are, what story is he telling about his past that's true, we at least know his frozen smile wasn't technically from chemicals or surgery gone wrong. It was just due to a little bit of silent movie history. And I think that's kind of interesting. They took a movie from the 1920s, used a part of it in a very iconic character that I'm sure they didn't know was going to be iconic at the time, but now is one of the best well known comic book villains ever. And it's lasted this long. Kind of makes you wonder what is going to happen today that maybe 100 years from now might be used as some sort of inspiration for a new iconic character. See, history, movies, film, and arts and media do live on. So, a little comic book trivia, a little silent movie history there for you. And if you like this, go ahead and let me know in the comments below. I can go ahead and find some more trivia to go ahead and share with you. But until then, I am Kristen with the Codex Station. This has been a little bit of a new comic book trivia. And as always, I hope to see you in the next issue.